Hello everybody and welcome to series 2 of the Love Time Trial series, Team Time Trial. Today we've got a 7-race head-to-head showdown for you, and we'll have a look at the teams, see who's taking part. But first of all, let's have a look at the course profile. This is the map and it's very near to where I am here in the Netherlands. It's the Amstel Loop. Just over 15 kilometers, and you can see it's a lumpy affair. I think this is going to be a difficult one for some of the teams. 15.5 kilometers, 170 meters of climbing, which might not sound a lot, but you could clearly see from the course profile it was up and down, and that usually sees a little bit of sorting out between the teams, with the stronger teams obviously being able to cope with the ascents. So we've got 7 teams taking part. NZ Bro are fielding 2 teams, Beach Stars and To Make, and then we've got OTR Blue, so just the one OTR team in this shootout. We've got 3R True 2, another regular, Viper, West London VR, and then we've got OTR Eureka. Now I think we've seen them before. Yeah, or are they a new one? They may well be a new one. My memory's not what it should be, but yeah, so we've got 2 OTR teams now in the mix, sorry, with Eureka taking part. Looking forward to this one because I've not seen them, don't know how strong they are. And here on screen you can now see we've got the 7 teams up. We'll have live coverage of the distances that each team has got remaining as we see them on screen, and I'll actually go through the individual teams as we pull them up. So we're looking at the start here now, and we're underway. So you'll get the 7 view as you can see on screen at the moment, but then we're going to switch to individual, and here we are. So first look is NZ Bro Beach Stars, and who have we got here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders, which is the maximum allowed for these team time trials, and always better if you can field a full team. You'll realise from watching series 1 with me that I go into the reasoning behind having the 6 riders as opposed to the minimum requirement of 3. 6 riders gives you more ability to be able to swap leaders and get into the drafting. Hopefully Bleakley here will get back onto his teammates. Yes, there he is, and they'll stay as a team of 6. It does look like he's struggling though, so we may well see him dropped off the back if he's not able to. Oh, he's getting back in now. Okay, let's have a look at the next team then. And NZ Bro To Make. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Damon did tell me once how to pronounce it, but I've forgotten. But yeah, this is the second NZ Bro team, and they've only got 5 members running today. So and we've only got 4 at the front. It does look like Chambers has dropped a little way behind. Oh, there he is. No, he's getting back into them. So hopefully these will stay as a 5-some. Now any team not fielding a full team of 6 obviously is going to be at a slight disadvantage. Most teams will try and stay together in the early part, that's for sure, and then in the later part there's only 3 required to cross the line, but they do need to try and keep as many as they can into the final kilometers. So look at team 3, OTR Blue, and this is a very experienced team. Sadly though, we can see that they're only fielding 5 members at the moment, as it looks like Macca has not started. So for some reason it looks like they've had a technical with Macca and they're down to the 5 riders now. As I say, very experienced team OTR Blue from season 1. They know the score, and I expect this team to stay together with these 5 riders till pretty much well into the ride. 3R True 2, another experienced team, my ex-teammates, with Graham Saunders here leading them out. And again, sadly, only 5 riders, so they're obviously struggling in the early part of the series. Couple of new riders to me here, Foulon for example, but yeah, very experienced team, and hopefully they'll get their act together and be fielding full teams of 6 in the later events. This is event 1 in the series, so we're going to see a little bit of coming together. Here you can see that Viper, who struggled in season 1, are also struggling in season 2 to field full team of 6, and they're down to 4 members today. And even those 4 members look to be struggling to stay together. They know this. Having said that, though, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, because they are on the steep climb now, and I did say in my introduction that this would definitely sort them out. These lumpy courses. It's not the same as doing one of the flatter courses that we'll have later in the series. These up and down ones really take it out on the teams, particularly when they're not full field in a team of 6. It's hard work for them to stay together. West London VR also fielding 4 members. Well, they fielded 5, but it looks like Morrison has dropped off the back. He's 50 metres behind his teammates here. Probably not going to get back on unless he makes a real big effort. We've seen Stu Fawn do that from this team. He's been dropped a couple of times in season 1 and got back in. But it doesn't look like Morrison is going to close this gap anytime soon. So they're down to 4 riders and expect them to go to the front. Now, West London VR are one of the teams that are up and coming. So hopefully, OTR Eureka, they're only fielding the 3 required riders. So obviously they're going to be looking for new team members to build this team up. It's a new team from OTR, but only 3 members, and that puts them at a distinct disadvantage right from the off, which is why they're currently in last place. 3 riders, there's no way that 3 riders, unless the 3 of your top riders on the platform, are going to be able to compete with 6. Now, looking at the graphic on the bottom right of the screen, you can clearly see that NZ Bro Beach Stars 11.4 kilometers, it's just clicked over 11.3 to go, are in the lead. NZ Bro to make are 11.5, 11.4 now. OTR Blue 11.7, and they're having a good battle with 3R True 2. So that's close. We could see it just clicked over, so that's within 100 meters. And then we've got Viper and West London. They're having a close battle as well. So it's nice to see the closer battles. Sadly, there's 300 meters between Beach Stars and To Make, so that's not as close. And OTR Eureka are well in last place, but that's to be expected as they're only running 3 members. They will hopefully build that team and be more competitive in later events. So this is an eye-opener, really. We don't know yet how this series is going to play out. We've still got a few teams missing from the lineup at the moment, including No Pins Race 3R, who, to be honest, will give NZ Bro Beach Stars a fair run for the money. As I say, it's early days. It's only the first race of the season 2, and so I think, here we go, we get another look at NZ Bro Beach Stars, and this team really know their stuff. They were top dogs when it came to the runoff, the finals, at the end of season 1, and they actually took the win there from No Pins Race 3R in terms of time. They both ran in separate finals, but they took, in terms of time, they took the best overall time. in the finals, and expect them to go really well in this series. I'm expecting to see Story close this gap and get back on. Looks like he's dropped 10 meters behind, but yeah, there we go. As we're watching him, he gets back on to his teammates. Story's a good, strong rider. He knows the score. Well, all these riders do. So yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the next team, Damon. But yeah, you can see them clearly riding together as a unit. You know, 6 riders taking it in turns to do the through and off, which is the basic requirement for these time trials. You really have got to try and stick together as a team, not allow too much gap between the wheels. So ideally half a bike length should be the maximum gap. I mean, you'll often see it go out more than that as riders are closing up, but you can see that this other NZ Pro team are also pretty well experienced now and looking really well together. Well drilled team here. 5 riders. And then OTR Blue, and these boys also, as I say, they've ridden enough events now to know the stuff, and you can clearly see they're looking very, very polished, very well together, really taking, I mean, you've got James here, team leader. Dude's leading them out at the moment, but this is looking really good. Now, the reason why Dude is in a different colours to the rest is he's wearing the Ukrainian support jersey, which RGT have allowed riders to utilise. 3R True 2, they're getting their act together now and looking pretty good. All 5 of them together, and they're well matched, this team. They've got a good strong team out now. My friend Jeffries is here, Luke Jeffries. Jonathan Stone, obviously. Here's Luke going off the front. Now Luke's really come into his own on this platform, and he's become a pretty strong rider. He was one of the first members to join Team 3R that I set up on the platform, and it's good to see him doing so well. Jonathan Stone, my ex-Swift True 2 teammate. And another look at Viper. 3 riders now at the front. It looks like Harding is, oh, there we go, he's caught them. So we've got 4 riders from Viper, but they are thankfully staying together. So this will, yeah, they'll finish pretty well, I think. They're not that far behind OTR Blue and 3R True 2, but the fact that there are only 4 riders is really going to hurt them. They could do with a full complement, and then they'd be able to swap the front riders on and off and get more recovery when putting in the turn on the front. So West London VR, they're down to 4 riders. They've dropped Morrison, as I suspected they would. He was struggling early on to keep pace, and they may well, you know, we've got Stu Thorne on the front actually pushing the pace, and they've dropped Thacker now, and it looks like Thacker is sitting up. Actually, it looks like he said, well, that's enough for me and I'm sitting up, because Stu Thorne is really pushing a hard pace here, and we know he's probably the strongest rider. I don't think the other riders will mind me saying that. He's probably the strongest rider in this trio, because he's proved time and time again. I mean, he pulled back, he had a dropout and pulled back a full kilometre just short of in a previous edition. So we know that he's a very, very strong rider that doesn't give up, and it's nice to see him doing so well. We're down to about the halfway point here. We'll get the halfway banner shortly, and you can clearly see that the riders are, I mean, OTR Eureka, they were free from the start, but they're managing to stay together. But you can clearly see that some of the teams you know, the dropping riders now because we're getting into the second half of the race. But the ideal is to try and stay together as much as possible until a couple of kilometers to go. Now, you can see as well as I can on screen, Beach Stars have pulled out now to a 400 meter gap, 6.1 to 6.5. So they've got a 400 meter gap. OTR Blue and True 2 are very, very close together, but have caught up with NZ Bro to Make almost. So that's another fight that may well go down to the wire in the second half of the race. Then Viper, they've pulled ahead of West London VR at the moment. So here we go. We're getting the halfway, we're coming to the halfway point. We're going to get the splits at the halfway point on screen now. And there you can see a 10:02 for Beach Stars, which is a huge gap over their teammates to make, with a 40-second gap. And then we've got 20 seconds to OTR Blue, and then only 6 seconds to 3R True 2. So that kind of gap can be turned around pretty easily. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but it can be turned around. 6 seconds is nothing. But then a fairly large gap back to Viper in 5th place. What we got? 28-second gap there. And then we've got another 16 seconds down to West London VR. And poor OTR Eureka with the 3 members from the start, they're suffering. They're suffering at the back. And this will be a little bit demoralising, but don't forget, they're new to this team time trialing series, and they can only get better. They'll add members and hopefully be able to compete in later editions. So this is interesting. Bear in mind the halfway settings, and we'll pull that up on screen at the end and see whether any of the teams were able to swap around, were able to actually gain places, or whether they've actually lost places. So we can see Beach Stars are 4.7, to make 5.4, OTR Blue 5.7, 3R True 2 5.8, Viper 6. In fact, OTR Blue and 3R True 2 very close together, less than 100 meters now. So there's possibilities of a turnaround there. Viper, I don't think Viper are going to catch the 2 in front of them. West London VR, 300 meters behind Viper. So it looks like Viper have got, well, 250, shall we call it, 300 meters. So unlikely that that's going to get closed up. But never say never, because we do know and we have seen that teams can put in an effort towards the very end of the race and overturn small gaps. Large gaps of more than a couple of 100 meters are very difficult to close up, but 100 meters, 200 meters is doable. Another look at Beach Stars now as a full team, and you can see they're really pushing the pace on here. They've still got 5 riders in this front group, which is amazing. Well done. They've dropped Rooney. He's not going to get back on now with 850 meters behind these riders. But this is nice to see them staying as a 5-man troop. Very, very good. And this is how you should ride these team time trials, staying with as many riders as you can coming into the last few kilometers. I mean, they've got 3.2 kilometers to go, and there's still 5 riders, and that's excellent riding, excellent team tactics. And their teammates here, they've got 4 riders still staying together, so that's pretty good as well. They've managed to drop off Marsh, he's 800 meters behind, but they still managed to stay with 4 riders, and they only started with 5. So this again is a really good effort. But as I said, these NZ Bro teams are really beginning to look well polished and well drilled. Now expect them to push on towards the end, and they may well drop the other odd rider, Only 3 riders need to come over the line. The time is given on the 3rd rider. I mean, more can do so, but only 3 of them need to do that. You can see Beachstars are actually upping the pace and are really pushing on. But we're looking at OTR Blue and 3R True 2 side by side here, and there's very little in it, less than 200 meters. You can see it clicked over there. So yeah, just short of 200 meters in the distance here, and that's going to be very close coming into the line. Viper, well, they've dropped off Shields, so they're down to 3 riders now. But expect them to push on. Let's see how well they do. West London VR, they've closed it up to about 200 meters, so they're sticking with it. And again, they're down to 3 riders now. 2 of their riders, Fakar and Morrison, have been dropped off, so they're going with these 3 riders to the finish, and they've just simply pushed on, which is a good tactic. Stu Thorne pulling them along, he's the stronger rider. And now obviously we've got OTR Eureka suffering at the back because they were only 3 riders from the start, and that basically means that these 3 riders don't get very much recovery. You can see that there's more than the bike length gaps between the riders, which mean they're not really getting the full drafting effect, and Elliott is actually suffering here at the back. I mean, Pardon's pushing on, which is, yeah, he's got to do so, but poor old Elliott, he's not getting any drafting effect. He is now that he's closing up, but you can see that Pardon actually had to ease up there to allow his teammates to get back on, and that loses your time. Whereas if you're more riders and you can draft with more riders in a pack, you're going to be able to put stronger efforts on the front. Okay, so what we got left, 1.3 kilometers left for Beachstars, 2.1 for 2 Make, so that's a huge gap now. That's 900 meters. And Beachstars are pushing on as hard as they can, don't forget, because they've no way of knowing what teams coming later, such as No Pins, Race 3R, are going to do. So they're going for the very best time they can. They're into the last kilometre. You can see it clicking down, and they're really hammering here. They really are. You can see from the wattage being put out, they're really hammering. 5 watt kilos from Story. So they are putting in a really strong effort here. Going into the red, you can see Williams, 7.1 watt kilos there. First 3 over the line, don't forget, so they don't need 5 riders over the line. It will be the first 3. Time given on the 3rd rider over the lap. But they're doing the right thing here. They're taking turns, they're pushing through, and only the 3 strongest will finish over the line, but all 5 riders will finish pretty close together. This is perfect tactics for team time trialing. And here we go. We've got 4 now at the front, but that will break up as well as we get Story and Bleakley and Polly. Now, will these be the 3, or will one of the riders come and take? No, it looks like these 3 have gone on ahead. They're going to be the 3 that cross the line. Bleakley comes in 3rd place to give them their time, 21:25. That's a pretty good time for a very, very lumpy course like this. Now, their teammates, they're another 1.2 kilometers behind, so that's a huge gap, folks. And that's not taking anything away from To Make, that's just a huge gap. They're not yet able to compete with their teammates. Here we go. So we're looking at this team in the final kilometre, and again you can clearly see they've managed to stay together. There's 4 riders coming in, but they will push on, and it's very likely that, I mean, the 2 riders are gapping the 2 riders behind. They need to close this up and work together. Here we go, they're coming back. And it's very likely that these 4 riders will sort of swap and change and come in together. Only 3 are required, but I can't see any of these 4 riders dropping off the back actually. They look far too motivated to stay together. So I don't know who the 3 that come over the line are going to be, but I suspect there'll only be a fraction of a second between the rider that comes in 4th. Burgess is doing the right thing. He's got the legs, he's pushing on the front and asking the other riders to give a bigger effort, get on his wheel. That's good tactics in the last few meters. You wouldn't want to do that from the 1 kilometre out banner, but yeah, in the last few kilometres. Now the 3rd rider, look here, needs to, yeah, there he is. So Lynch is sprinting to get on the wheels to come over, and fraction of a second behind his teammates. Well done, Lynch. Excellent effort to get onto his 2 teammates' wheel. Now these 2 teams, OTR Blue and True 2, they were a bit closer early on in the race, but it does look now like OTR Blue are going to take this. There's not going to be much in it, but there's a couple of, there's 100 meters at least, maybe a little bit more. But I have to say, True 2 actually closed up the gap here. So here we can see OTR Blue, and they're down to the 3 riders now. They've dropped James Ogilvie, he's done his work, and the 3 riders over the line with Dude bringing them in. Well done. 24:01 I think did we have. So not far behind. I mean, look at this. That was pretty close, closer than I expected. So the True 2 boys come in as well. Viper 500 meters behind. So they're the next team in. Now, what we're seeing with Viper here is we're seeing, here we go, 3 riders have broken free. They've dropped shields, as I said earlier. So the 3 riders thankfully are staying together. They're pushing it on up this final slope, and hopefully they will stay together. Chris O'Hearn there, nice to see Chris, he's a good friend, joining this team and helping them out. Chris is a strong rider, he's pulling them in here. But so there we go, Chris Little as well. Well done, good ride there by Viper. Now West London VR, they're a kilometre behind. So they're going to be a minute or so before we see them coming in. Again, an experienced team, but we've got the 3 riders coming into the finish now. They managed to drop Thacker and Morrison earlier on in the ride. They might want to try staying together a little bit more though, until closer to the line next time out, because it does make a difference. If you can, you know, the more drafting you can do off your teammates, the more strength you've got to go on the front and do a longer pull or a harder pull, and that makes a huge difference, which is why the better teams like Beach Stars and To Make, that's why they try and take as many of their riders to the line as they can, and then they go for it in the last few 100 meters. But I'm not complaining with West London VR. They are a top team. They'll only get stronger as the series continues. And it was nice to see them actually putting out five riders this time, even though 2 of the riders couldn't stay with the pace. It's nice to see that they did start with 5 riders. They were struggling last season to get riders in the team. So, and here we go, all coming over the line together. Well done, West London. So our final team to come in, folks, is OTR Eureka, a new team, only 3 riders. So you can understand why they're struggling here at the back, Lantern Rouge, in this particular 7-man head-to-head, because they're a brand new team, new to the event. They've got to sort of like get their act together. They've certainly got to have a few more riders taking part. Now, I haven't done any riding for quite a long time because in truth, I just haven't been well enough, but I'm starting to come back to some kind of fitness. So I may well look at dropping in with one of these teams, and maybe Eureka, they might welcome my effort. So yeah, I might well ask if they'll accept me as an additional rider, give them a bit of help. Because it's sad to see, you know, new teams coming to this event and struggling to make up a complement. So if any riders out there are listening and they fancy giving this a go, fire off an email or a message to James at OTR and ask if you can help out. And that goes for some of the other teams that are not putting in full complements. You know, just get in touch on Facebook and ask if you can help out. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good series. Series 1 was pretty impressive. We got huge views on esports television. I mean, 25,000 viewers on some of the broadcasts. So that's no small potatoes. And these events are very well watched and very well supported. Okay, so into the last 700 meters, staying together nicely. I expect to see numbers going red here, and there you could see Pardon going into the red. You know, these riders, they've really suffered here being a threesome, but they're still putting in, you know, red numbers here, which means they're going above threshold efforts to try and get this fast finish. They need to stay together, obviously, but at this point, 400 meters to go, you can start to push on and give everything you've got. And you can see that by the red numbers. You know, Pardon there putting out 4.8 from 5.2. So he's really, really trying to push this threesome along. That's a very good effort. And well done to Robinson and Elliott for staying on his wheel, because Pardon is really pushing the pace here. And Elliott, well done for sticking with the wheels and putting in this, all three of them in the red here. What a superb effort. You know, they may come in last, but they've given absolutely everything here. So well done to those three riders. Very good ride. Okay, folks, so let's just have a quick look at the halfway point and see whether anything got turned around. And you can clearly see, no, it didn't. So the halfway point timings were not overturned by the finish. I mean, you can see that some of the gaps went out, yes. Some of the gaps closed up, but basically the 1 to 7 stayed the same. Now, as we go further into the series, I can guarantee that won't remain the case. You will see teams overtaking. I mean, there's only 6 seconds between OTR Blue and 3R True 2. And trust me, 3R True 2 can close that kind of a gap in later events. So yeah, I'd expect to see some turning around of the series placings as we go further into the season. So this is the 7-way head-to-head season 2 event 1, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Not exactly sure when that's going to be. We'll have to wait until Damon schedules it, but thanks for watching, folks. I'm going to call it there, and everybody stay safe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.